Hello, Tea Family. Welcome back. It seems like so long since I've seen everybody. It's only been a couple of weeks. I appreciate you all giving us last Sunday to visit with some unexpected but expected out of town guests. We knew they were coming, but we weren't sure on the time. And then the way the times worked out, we weren't going to be able to make it for the live. So I appreciate that. Now that we're here, as always, if you have a question, we would rather answer your question live here right away. Please feel free to put it in the chat or the comments, depending on how you're viewing our live today. And feel free to share what kind of tea or beverage you're drinking. Not everybody drinks tea 24/7. I don't even drink tea 24/7. I also drink a lot of water, every once in a while a lemonade or a hot chocolate, but mostly tea for me. All right, today we're going to get started and we are going to make some Harmony tea. So, of course, that is a green-based tea. Harmony is green tea with freeze-dried strawberries and orange zest, and that is one of our spring to summer blends. It is only available through the summer during strawberry season. So that means when we get to the end of July, which can you believe July is tomorrow, but when we get to the end of July, Harmony will be gone for another year. We do sneak it into a couple of our Christmas time packages, like our 12 Teas of Christmas ornament set and our Advent calendar that has 24 different teas, although we will be changing up some of those 24 teas this year since we have some new blends and some other things we want to add to it. But Harmony typically makes it in for that. Otherwise, you will not see Harmony again until April of 2025. So it's available through the end of July. Wanted to make sure we talked about that. But Harmony tea, okay, so I think the kettle's to temperature already. That was pretty quick. It is right there. That is what we are brewing today. Now, this particular green tea blend of Harmony, like I said, green tea, freeze-dried strawberries, which means instead of brewing it for 1 minute, we're going to bring it for 2 for the first time brew. As you can see, lots of vibrant color. You see the green tea, little tinges of the orange zest, and you also see the freeze-dried strawberries. Now, what is important is you want to give it that extra minute when you're brewing Harmony, and the reason for that is because freeze-dried means the first minute it's going to kind of hydrate the strawberries. The second one, it's really going to brew the flavors together. It doesn't hurt the green tea to go ahead and have that extra brew time. So, got this going. All right. Had to do it down there. I couldn't do it and not accidentally hit this. I should have probably just moved this up a little bit. There we go. So that I could have maneuvered my teaspoon. This will be very interesting to chat about next week, but I'll save that for later. Okay, so our Harmony, we're going to go ahead. Now, green teas, like Harmony, we want to do at about 175 to 180 degrees. Just let that come up to temperature. Almost there. You can start to see the little bubbles coming up, which means we will not be long before we are at the proper temperature. So this is one of the only tea blends that we have that ends up having 3 distinct flavors to it. Everything else blends into kind of one flavor where you get different notes. This one will actually have a start, a finish, and an end. It will start with the green tea, then it moves into strawberry with an orange finish. For whatever reason, you still can taste all the elements, but it has like a 1, 2, 3, very powerful, which makes it very fun. It's also, as you can see, it is just so pretty to look at. Welcome, Stephanie. How are you? Glad you could join us. So that's Harmony. It's always funny. I'm trying to judge how much can I tip it so you can see the teas versus spill it all over my keyboard and computer, which is right there. So, okay. So this should be almost done. As you can see, we've got bubbles coming up, and green tea, we only want to be about 175, 180. And there we go. Now, this tea was created basically right at the very beginning. It's one of the first specialty teas that we wanted. We wanted to really incorporate the strawberries of the season because strawberries were in, and we wanted a very spring summer kind of a flavor. And strawberries are one of my favorite fruits. So that is how it began. Now I can put this over here. That's one of my favorite parts about an electric tea kettle is that the kettle itself doesn't get hot once you take it off of this. I can put it down on my desk someplace else. All right, 2 minutes on the clock for this one. So we're going to head start 2 minutes on the clock. And then again, we're doing that for the Harmony because we have freeze-dried strawberries, so they need to take that first minute to hydrate the strawberries and then the second minute to brew. Stephanie is drinking Summer Kiss tonight. That was a close call. We almost did that one. We almost did Summer Kiss tonight, but decided not to. Now, I have had one person ask me through the week, you notice a lot of people steep like this. Can you do it? Yes. Do you have to? No. If you have it in the proper kind of an infuser or the tea leaves in there, you don't have to do that. Some people like to. It's like one of those things that they feel like they're steeping their tea and it makes them happy. And if that's the case, you are good to go. Now, tonight, once we get our tea completed and we are able to enjoy it, we are going to be debunking some common tea myths. So, anybody who's joined us, and there are a few of us online tonight, go ahead and feel free to put in the comments what you think the biggest tea myth is, or a fact that you think about tea that might be a myth that you're not sure about. And we're going to debunk some of those tonight. All right. One of the things I love about this Harmony tea is that you do not need the sweetness of the strawberries is enough for me. I'm not a high sugar person, and so it is a nice, delightful way to enjoy tea and not have to have something super, super sweet. Uh, doesn't I don't think it needs cream. I don't think it needs anything. But everybody has a little bit different. Now, this is also a really good one to have iced. You can go ahead and make I would brew this one warm or brew it hot and then let it cool in the fridge overnight and then just take it with me as an iced tea. It is absolutely delightful. If you wanted to do that, or you wanted to add a little punch to it, I would add a little bit of mint or garnish it with mint. You could even go with basil. Basil, I like basil in a lot of different things. It's a very summer flavor, has an element of herbs, but it's not what a lot of people normally put in their tea. And so people are surprised by the flavor, and it kind of awakens your mouth without being over the top. So, and then Diane, welcome. She's got lemon zinger. That was the number 3 choice. Well, we're all thinking green teas today, everybody. With ginger mints. Now that's an amazing combination. The ginger will play on each other. That's awesome. So we have our Harmony. And as you can tell, I hope. There you go. Now I'm going to definitely. There we go. You can see a nice golden light green. The tea does have a slight pinkish tone to it. I think you can see it better out here. But Stephanie says she's been adding mint to pretty much all her green teas because she has a lot growing out back. Yes, mint is an invasive species in many states and prohibited from being planted, as we talked about before. So I am not surprised. It is nice. It adds a nice bite to balance sometimes the fruitiness of a tea. I'm all about tea pairings. I'm all about sometimes I want my flavors to complement. Like Diane has the lemon zinger, that lemon ginger tea with ginger thins, so she's getting complementary flavors. And I talked about this with Harmony and that red berry cereal that you can get in the grocery store when I have that on occasion. And the flavors complement and bring it out even more. But sometimes, Stephanie, I'm like you, and I want something that's kind of contrast the sweetness of a fruit tea or fruity tea with something that has a little more bite, and that's where I love those contrasting flavors, because then you really notice so many other notes and flavors and depths and things like that. One of my favorite things, other than my first favorite thing, is creating new tea blends and playing with them and things like that. My second one is I love figuring out what to pair with tea food wise, whether it's just desserts or main meals or different flavors and how they're going to go together. I love pairing that stuff together, and of course that means my husband often has to enjoy the experimentation stage, which he hasn't complained about yet for some reason. So cheers. Oh, that's just so delightful. Light, super light. Um, there's the orange. I had the green tea ready to be. That's when I think that when we bring this to a market, when we bring Harmony to a market, people are always amazed at how light this tea is. So I see Diane saying that her fresh basil goes on her homemade pizza. We use it homemade pizza, pesto, and tea. Mocktails a lot of the time. The mocktails, you notice I'll sneak some basil in or something like that, just because I love the slate herby bite, but especially the sweet basil does have really harmonious flavors with the teas. All right, so we're gonna jump into it.
I put it in the minestrone soup yesterday for today.
Oh, we even had it in our minestrone soup that we made for today. It had spinach and basil in it. So,
Basil from our garden.
all right. Yes, basil from our garden. Okay, so today we're going to debunk some tea myths. Feel free, comments, questions. It doesn't have to do with the tea myths, but if you have one, put it in there. And tea myth number one is green tea is healthier than black tea. For some reason, marketing has said, oh, green tea is so much healthier than black tea. Well, we're going to debunk that one because, first of all, as you know, green tea and black tea are the same plant. The Camellia sinensis plant is both. It's just that the black tea has been fully oxidized, where the green tea has not. They're processed differently, and therefore they have different flavors, but they're still the same plant. Both black tea and green tea are completely packed with antioxidants. We all know that antioxidants are really good for us. They're healthy on both sides. Um, in fact, I can't put this down. Sorry. So green tea is true. It has catechins, which are known to be helpful for anti-inflammatory and fat burning properties. Um, but on the other hand, black tea has theaflavins, which can improve cholesterol potentially or support heart health. And these are all facts that you can do on any kind of internet search. Uh, and so, really, no matter which way you look, whether you choose the black tea or you choose the green tea, they're both going to have things in them, or chemical, I hate to say chemicals because that has a negative term, but they both have things, elements to the tea itself that are really healthful in general. So they may have slightly different benefits, but they both have health benefits, so you really can't say that one is healthier than the other. uh, I always say choose the tea that you enjoy more, and there's nothing wrong with both. My favorite option when it comes to tea is like D, all of the above. Because sometimes I'm in the mood for an herbal. Sometimes I'm in the mood for a black tea, especially if I need that extra caffeine. Sometimes I want that just delightful, lighter flavor of a green tea or a green tea blend. What you're in the mood for works. Don't be concerned that one is so much healthier for you than the other that you should ignore. I'm going to stop drinking this kind of tea and only drink this kind of tea. You don't have to do that. Okay, myth number two. All right, you ready? Herbal teas are true teas. Now, as we know, herbal teas do not have the Camellia sinensis plant in them at all. Therefore, they are not true teas because they're not a tea. They're an herbal tisane. Uh, this is one of those things that a lot of people get confused about. But the herbal notes come from various herbs, flowers, fruits, spices.
Berries.
They can even, yep, fruits.
Berries.
Berries are fruits. I have my handy dandy helper over here. He keeps saying berries, berries, berries. And I said fruits. Berries are a kind of a fruit. So, silly helper. Silly helper. Um, but these things are made from various herbs or other elements, and therefore they don't have the true tea plant in them. That does not mean that they are not delicious, and that does not mean that they don't bring their own health benefits potentially. Everybody keep in mind I have to say potentially because I don't want the US Food and Drug Administration coming after me because I've made claims that you can't make. That's why I always time this is information I get from reputable sources, but I have to cover myself a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay. So because they don't have that the tea plant in them, they are actually not a true tea. They're completely delicious though. Absolutely delicious. But that's why it was technically their herbal tisanes. We're going to talk more about herbals in a couple minutes when we get to another myth. Keep you curious for a second. Okay. Okay. So when I have a tea like Harmony here, it is a green tea. It is a light tea. It's a fruit tea. I typically do not add milk to green tea. I also typically don't add milk to tea that is an herbal tea or an herbal tisane. I typically will add milk to most black teas, but not even all black teas. And so,
I ain't quite done.
Diane says, handy dandy assistant is right, berries and fruit. Okay. I just think they come from the same category, but I'm not going to argue with you all. I love it. Um, Adding milk to tea is thought to be by some to be unhealthy. And it is a very common practice to add milk to tea in places like the United Kingdom, in India, in parts of the United States. But there are those that don't think that adding milk to tea is healthy. So let's look at some of the different things. All right, I gotta check my notes for a second. Okay. We talked before about why would someone add milk to tea, and I talked about the fact that milk or dairy in general helps reduce the amount of tannic acid in a tea, therefore making the tea less bitter and more sweet. Because I don't know, when I drink milk or a cream or something like that, I taste extra sweetness even if there's no sugar added. But the proteins in milk, the casein, casein, they can bind to some antioxidants. This is true, which is potentially why people think they're not as healthy. But they also, I mean, milk adds a lot of benefits. Not only does it make it less bitter, that can make it easier on some people's stomachs who are very, very sensitive to acids and tannic acid. If they brew their tea incorrectly, milk can really help with that and reduce that. Milk adds the calcium, some vitamin D if it's been enriched, different things like that. So again, it's going to come down to preference. I have certain teas that I prefer not to drink milk with, and I have other teas that I really enjoy milk with. I think it depends on the type of tea and the flavor profile that I want. There's no rule saying you can't add milk to a green tea. I just typically don't because those tend to be more fruity. I also don't add milk to a black tea to our afternoon delight, which is our black tea and hibiscus blend, because hibiscus is, remember, it's kind of like that cranberry of the flower family. It doesn't It doesn't need it. I'm going in a different flavor profile. You could add it though. I mean, Stephanie says she loves milk in her chai. It's such a velvety finish. And that's the thing. I love the smoothness of when I add milk to like a serene sunrise, my favorite, or like the onyx chai, or even the breakfast blend or morning Irish. I love that creaminess against the boldness of the black tea. So that's why I tip it. And it's very traditional for me. That's how my grandparents did not drink tea unless it had milk and sugar in it. Uh, I don't drink anywhere near as much milk in mine, nor as much sugar as they put in theirs. But that was their kind of tradition, and so that's how I grew up understanding tea. It wasn't until I was later in adulthood and exploring other teas and tea rooms and tea houses that I started to enjoy it first without before adding anything, and then going, oh, I actually like it just like this, as you see me drinking my Harmony. Okay, tea myth 4. Tea myth number 4. This one is that white tea contains no caffeine. Okay, I'm going to alter this one slightly. White tea and herbal teas have no caffeine. Okay, first, white tea does have some caffeine in it. It is the least processed of all true teas that have that Camellia sinensis plant in it. However, it does have some caffeine. It's just significantly less than a black tea or a green tea, but there is a tiny amount of caffeine in there. Now, I'm also added to that herbal teas. For the most part, I hate when eyelash gets in your eye. Oh my goodness. For the most part, herbal teas are caffeine free. However, some ingredients can have caffeine in them. We need to make sure you're mindful of that. It depends on what you're adding in. For the most part, herbals are going to remain caffeine free because there's no caffeine in them, but that is not always the case. So please be mindful of that. Let's see. An average 8-ounce cup of a white tea contains about 15 to 30 milligrams of caffeine in it. Now, a black tea has 40 to 70 milligrams, and a green tea has 20 to 45 milligrams. So, as you can see, that 15 to 30 is significantly less, potentially even half of what's in a green tea, and even less than what's in a black tea. But it still has that 15 to 30 milligrams of tea. So keep that in mind. It's really important to be aware of that one, especially since there are a lot of people we talk to nowadays at events and shows, and they're very concerned about the amount of caffeine in teas right now because they cannot have any caffeine for medical reasons, or it doesn't react well with them, or they get too wired and they can't sleep, or different things like that. And so you'll hear me constantly say we do have caffeine-free teas. They're actually herbal tisanes, but even when you move into certain herbal tisanes, they still have some caffeine in them with the other ingredients. So please be careful and mindful of that. Okay.
My doctor recommended less than 400 milligrams of caffeine a day.
Did you hear that? The handy dandy assistant just told me about something from a doctor's appointment a while ago, that he's supposed to keep his caffeine under 400 milligrams per day.
People in general.
So we'll have to explore his coffee and see how much coffee he's now
Whoa,
allowed to
it's
drink.
time to hang up.
It's not time for us to stop yet. Because we have tea myth number 5 that we have to go through yet. We haven't done number 5. And this is another huge one that is very similar to what we just talked about, and that is decaffeinated tea has 0 caffeine in it, and that is not true at all. I am throwing this one out the window. It is Stephanie says decaffeinated coffee for you from now on.
Negative, Batman.
Negative Batman. um, so So decaffeinated tea still has some caffeine in it, and there are different methods, and the different methods of decaffeinating tea can affect how much caffeine is less. But whatever process it goes through to be federally allowed to say that it is a decaffeinated tea, it has to remove 97% or more of the caffeine. And that's a pretty significant amount. You're really talking just a tiny bit. However, that typically can mean that there's still up to 3 milligrams of caffeine in the cup. If you have someone who has who could have a medical interaction, a drug interaction with the caffeine, or who has heart issues, who cannot have any caffeine, they start drinking tea all day, that's 3 milligrams per cup. If they have, 3 cups of tea, that's almost 10 milligrams of caffeine. That might be too much. That might cause a reaction. It might not. It might be small enough. But that is something to keep in mind. Decaffeinated tea still has some caffeine in it. Um, so please be aware. You really want to make sure you're watching how much caffeine is in your tea. All right. Those are 5 myths that we wanted to debunk, because those are 5 really popular ones that we find all the time that talks about that we talk about for myths for tea. People think, well, isn't green tea so much healthier? I'm not going to drink any other tea. Or we get the people like, well, I'll just drink decaffeinated tea, and we're like, nope, it's not. Even decaffeinated tea has a little bit. You're just going to need to go with a caffeine-free blend. So, does anybody have any other questions for us tonight? It's been so long since I've seen everybody.
Me.
Oh, the handy dandy assistant has one. Now I'm concerned. Yes?
You have to have your pinky out when you drink tea.
Mmm. Yes. We did this when we were talking about etiquette. Technically, I should be first finger and thumb to pick up my tea. And then the other thing is pinkies don't ever go up. Pinkies are always down. That's a myth. That the proper way to drink a cup of tea is with your pinky. That's weird. It is not. You keep your pinky tucked under for proper tea. There you go. A bonus myth busted by the handy dandy assistant.
By you.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for us tonight? Okay. So, 2 things. Number one, I wanted to let everybody know that in July, probably towards the end, since we have some crazy things happening in the beginning of July for us right now, we are going to be doing a giveaway. And the giveaway is going to be a bigger package giveaway. It is going to encourage you to join our VIP club. If you're already a member, there'll be a way that you can still enter. You don't have to buy anything to win or enter, but we are going to be having a giveaway, so watch for more details on that. I will probably have some details next week that I can share, but probably closer to the end of July, we will actually be having a giveaway that we're really excited about. One of the things that I'm thinking about including, please give me your feedback, is a quilted tea carrier. And this is a really cool little bag pouch that I will sew and embroider. And then in it, you can put your teacup, your tea, kind of anything that you would need. And then you take it to work or wherever you wanted to do to travel. And of course, we're thinking of having that as well as some other things in there. So maybe a teacup, maybe obviously some tea, some different things like that. It'll be a high value giveaway that we want to do. But you're the first ones to hear about it. Feel free to add what you think we should include. And number 2, in our special announcements for tonight, I wanted to say we will be traveling next week when it comes to the tea time, and we will be having a tea time chat. We're just going to be doing it from an alternate location. And so don't be surprised if we do something unique. So one of the things that I decided is um, my handy dandy assistant wanted me to talk about traveling with tea, but I don't think we have enough to talk about. It's pretty easy. So we're going to actually talk about tea and essential equipment that you really need for tea. And so I figure that will have a lot that we can talk about, especially since we will be traveling. Um, we'll be doing some glamping along the way. So next week, that's what we'll be talking about. We will be on the road someplace in the United States, hopefully, if all goes well. And we will be talking about your essential tea equipment needed. So,
Wait till you see the automobile.
yes, wait if you see the Nonomobile. I don't know we have a Nonomobile, but okay. Okay. All right. Questions. Anybody have any other questions? Give you a second to put them in there. Everybody enjoy your green tea. It's a green tea night for some reason. I'm not seeing any questions come up in the chat, so I will say thanks for joining us. We missed you all last week, but we're really glad we were able to see you this week. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week, and we will see you all later.